to see they can trust you or not, pretty much. And then here are the minimum credit scores for some of the 4 most common loans. FHA is a 580, conventional 620, VA for our veterans, there's no minimum credit score, and then USDA is 640.
All right, now we get to the fun part, house hunting. So when you get through with all the paperwork with your lender, you kind of start the process of house hunting. This is where I come in, or any real estate agent that you're going to work with. Very, very, very first thing, interview agents. It's crucial to interview agents. A lot of people think that you save money if you don't work with a realtor. That's not the case. Buyers don't pay for real estate agents. Sellers always pay that out of their closing costs. So you're basically getting someone to work for you for free and facilitate the process. It is essential to interview multiple agents because you need to make sure that the person that you're basically hiring for this transaction fits whatever your needs are. You know, make sure that you have chemistry with them, that your personality kind of can coexist, because you're going to be talking to this person day and night, pretty much. And you're going to see them a lot depending on how long the process is. Sometimes you can close on a home in a month. Sometimes it'll take you a year. So you have to feel comfortable with who you work with. Their level of knowledge is also important. They don't have to know everything, but you need to talk to someone who at least can answer your questions. And if they can't answer your question immediately, the best response is always, I'll get right back to you. I'll find out and get back to you. So that is crucial, because if you're confused on the process and they're confused on the process, ultimately it's not going to be a smooth transaction. And then the last thing is experience. I wouldn't say experience is the most important thing in the world, because there's some real estate agents that aren't too experienced, but they can get the job done because they're working closely with a mentor who has 30 years of experience. But it is important to kind of have an idea how many transactions agents have closed, to kind of just have an idea if they have done it before or if they're still kind of learning, you know. Next. So then once you hire your real estate agent, you're done with that. You got to send them your pre-approval. It's essential that you send them your pre-approval, because real estate agents are never going to show you a home without a pre-approval. We're not able to, because, well, we are able to, but we usually don't, because you can't send in an offer without a pre-approval. When you read any MLS listing on the confidential remarks, it always says, please do not show property without pre-approval, or please do not send an offer without a pre-approval. And if you get into a house and you fall in love with a house and you still haven't gotten pre-approved and you still haven't found a lender, and by the time that you get pre-approved, send a letter and you're ready to buy, that house is probably already off the market. So you just kind of wasted your time and got your hopes up for nothing. You can either send a pre-approval or a proof of funds. Pre-approval is something you get from Driana if you're looking to purchase with a loan. And if you're an investor, you just have to basically take a picture of your bank statements or something like that, to show proof that you do have the cash to purchase the home. All right, so then when you do that, you got to sit down and figure out your wants versus needs. First and foremost, if you're the only person purchasing, sit down with yourself, talk to yourself, and figure it out from there. But if it's you and someone else or a few other people that are going to be on the transaction, I would highly suggest sitting down and kind of going over what everyone's wants and needs are before you start looking, just to kind of not prolong the process and not bicker over very minimal things. You got to keep in mind your wants are things that you can compromise on, things you can live without, and then your needs are essentials. So if you have 5 kids, you can't have a 2-bedroom apartment, kind of things like that. This transaction it's like a 30-year commitment. You're getting married to a house pretty much. So you got to be clear and logical when you're making the decision, not just emotional, you know. Yeah, that's pretty much that. And then when you sit down with your spouse, you sit down with your real estate agent and have a clear understanding. So when you tell your agent your wants versus needs, you go shopping. You don't start looking at houses immediately. You have to look at them online first and kind of get an idea. Give your top choices. Your agent will usually send you a big old list of a bunch of houses that meet your criteria. based off of your pre-approval letter, your financial situation, and your wants versus needs. Oh yeah, avoid getting sidetracked. So usually I always recommend to stay off of Zillow, stay off of Redfin, stay off of Realtor.com, because those are third-party websites. A lot of people list their houses on that and they're not actively working with real estate agents. So I've had people send me a house that was listed by the owner, and I've contacted the owner and they hung up the phone on me because they don't work with realtors. So when you do that, it kind of just prolongs the process. So I would just highly suggest sticking to whatever MLS list your agent sends you. And then when you pick your tops, you schedule some showings. Now is the fun part. Now you get to go look at houses and kind of see what there is out there and get a feel for the home. Typically, I recommend to see 4 to 6 houses, because when you see more than that, everything kind of just starts blending in. And you can't make a good decision off of like blurry memories. It's also really, really good to take notes. Every time you go on showings and things like that, your agent should typically give you a customer report. Customer report just kind of tells you all the details of the property, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, all the major details. And I always suggest that you make pros and cons lists on that sheet itself, so that later when you're kind of deciding on what houses you do want to put an offer on, you have an idea of what you liked and disliked. Okay, now you found the one. So you went through your pros, you went through your cons, and now you're ready to put an offer on a house. Usually your agent will write up an offer for you after they send the property to your lender. So you got to send it to your lender just to make sure that you are within budget, because just because it was in your list doesn't mean you're going to be comfortable paying for it, right? So like the house has many different variables, anything between taxes, HOA fees, and things like that. So we usually send the property over to the lender, get kind of like a estimated number of how much the mortgage is going to be, how much the closing costs are going to be, and how much the down payment is going to be. And if you're comfortable with those 3 very important numbers, then you can kind of go ahead and send your offer in. Yay.
And then that's where I'll come in with the loan estimate. So the loan estimate, this is a clear summary of the loan terms, costs, and any other details like Daily was saying. So the interest rate, your monthly payment, your closing costs, and any costs that you might, or your down payment and any costs you might pay at closing. And then here's a picture showing the loan estimate. These are all look the same. They're all made to be easily read. So you'll see loan amount there, and it'll also show how much you'll need at closing. And I like to emphasize to really take your time reviewing this estimate. It gives you everything you need to make an informed decision on your mortgage. And like I said, they're made for a simple review process.
All right, now we get to the offer and acceptance. So green light from the lender, we can go ahead and submit an offer with your pre-approval letter. Very, very important. I added recommended terms. That's usually for real estate agents to kind of do. We do have to discuss that with you, obviously, to make sure you're comfortable with it. But what I feel like is usually a strong offer is 24-hour expiration period. That is just so that you're not sitting there for 3 or 4 days waiting around for the agent to get back to you and let you know whether or not they're accepting your offer, number 1. And number 2, so that they don't sit there waiting on other offers to come in and start a bidding war. The next thing is to have a 5 to 7 day inspection period. Usually the shorter the inspection period, the prettier your offer is going to look, because the inspection period is the moment in which you can back out of the transaction and negotiate and things like that. So the shorter that time span is, the more serious it is, the more serious that you're showing the seller that you are about the home, and they're not worried that you're going to back out. Sometimes agents put 10 to 15 days on the inspection period, and it just looks like they're not too serious. And then for escrow, I usually suggest to put at least half of your down payment if you're able to, if you feel comfortable. What is that? Escrow is pretty much what you put down to like hold the house. And I suggest 50% of your down payment, because Let's say you have to put down $10,000 and you only put down $1,000 in escrow. That's something else. That's another indicator that you might back out of the offer because you don't have that much skin in the game. If you put $5,000 down and they have an offer with $5,000 in escrow and $1,000 in escrow, $5,000 is much more appealing because it kind of shows that you're more serious and that you do want the property and you're not willing to lose those $5,000. And then to put a 25-day close, that has to be approved by the lender, obviously, because they have to be able to make sure that they can approve a loan within 25 days. The typical time on the offer, I think it states it's about 30 days. So if you put a little bit less time in there, that just shows them that you're ready to close quicker and they'll get their money faster. So those kind of things are kind of what makes a strong offer in my opinion, in my experience. So negotiations, when the listing agent receives your offer, they may counter with terms that are more suited to their clients. What does that mean? They just kind of might go back and forth with, like I said before, if you do a 10-day inspection period, they'll come back and they say 5, and just things like that. Usually buyers who purchase without an agent don't walk away with the best deal for them, which I've seen happen before. I had a client that previously had purchased without a real estate agent and they paid like $5,000 in extra fees and yada, 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 that they didn't have to actually pay. It's just title companies take advantage and things like that to just kind of make a few more bucks. So it's always good to have a real estate agent who knows what they're doing. That's kind of where we lead back to the experience and the knowledge of your real estate agent to know what you should be charged and what you're getting overcharged on. And then besides paying unnecessary fees, people also overpay on properties. They overpay on properties because they don't know that they have the ability to negotiate. The number that's on the screen when you go buy a house isn't always the number that the number one, the property is worth, and that number two, you should pay for the property. So we go back to the inspection period. When you do an inspection on a home and let's say the roof is old, it's got 5 years left, whatever the case may be, then it's obviously you got to discount however much you would spend on a new roof from the price, things like that somebody wouldn't typically know to do without having a real estate agent looking out for your best interest, because ultimately seller's agent owes the seller fiduciary duties, not the buyer. Oh, you're under contract. Yay, your offer was accepted. Now the title company will send you your wiring instructions, and when this is sent and you send over your escrow amount, you're officially in escrow, you're officially under contract, and you basically start getting excited because you're about to buy a house. You never send money without calling title. Once you start looking for houses, I don't know how these companies do it, but they find out you're buying a house and you start getting all these scammers sending you emails and letters and things like that. So never send money without calling the title company first, from the number that your real estate agent will provide you, just to make sure that it is legit. In Lee County, which is where we are, typically the seller will pick the title company, which is good because whoever picks title has to pay certain fees that the other person does not. So that's always a plus for the buyer. And now we have the inspection period. While you are in escrow, as soon as you get into escrow, your contract is official, so you have your inspection period. If you gave yourself those 5 days to make that strong offer, it's good to immediately send out an inspector. Your agent will usually have a list of inspectors that they've worked with before, so you kind of just have to pick one. The prices may vary anywhere between $350 to $500 that I've seen from the companies that I've worked with. That's really all dependent on how quickly they get the information back to you, what they cover in their inspection periods and things like that. It's not required by most loans, but it is highly recommended because I know that there's some loans, I think it's the FHA loan or something like that, that they do require an inspection just to make sure the home is up to a certain code to be able to finance the deal. If any issues are found, now's when your agent will negotiate fixtures, credits, or price adjustments. And if you want to back out, now's the time to do so also, so that you don't lose escrow. This is why we were talking about earlier about how if you do less time in inspection, it's better for you because they don't think you're going to back out. If you have 15 days basically to look at the house and decide whether or not, they're kind of in like this period of, are we going to do it or are we not? So yeah, if you find anything that's wrong with the house, you don't like it, you don't want to fix the old roof, you don't want to fix the foundation, whatever's wrong with it, you can back out and you get your $5,000 back. Once you pass the inspection period, you will not get your escrow back. So now is the time to kind of like yes or no.
All right, now on to the appraisal, the nail biting part of this, as we wait for the appraisal to come back to see how much the house is worth. So what is an appraisal? An appraisal order is pretty much once you're under contract, the inspection's complete, any negotiations are made, then the appraisal is ordered. So unlike the inspection, the appraisal determines the fair market value of the property. Now, why do you need to have an appraisal? So the appraiser provides an unbiased estimate of the property value. They look at the property's estimated value based on different factors and combine their findings into the appraisal report. They look at things like comparable homes, market trends, location, things like that. Who pays for the appraisal? So typically the buyer pays for the appraisal report upfront in the mortgage process, and this can be negotiated in the contract possibly for the seller to pay. The cost averages around $400 to $500. Just depends on the property size, location, and condition. And I wanted to follow up, Daily, on what you said earlier. So FHA, they actually have their own FHA appraiser that goes out and just make sure it follows the FHA guidelines. So now that your appraisal's back and you're glad to see that it is, now what happens? So if your appraisal comes in below the purchase price, we're going to have to look at other options like renegotiating the price or adjusting the loan terms. But if your appraisal comes above the purchase price, which is what we like to see, congratulations. That means that you just agreed to pay the seller less than what the home's market value is. You just made a deal.
All right, now we negotiate a little bit more. So post appraisal, if your home is lower, I think you just touched on this. If your home is lower than what your purchase price is, it's time for me to negotiate on your behalf. If the house comes back appraised at $350 and you're paying $380 for it, we're not going to pay you guys any more than $350 for it. So we rework the contract. And then if you came appraised higher than the purchase price, you're walking into a home with equity. And what this means is that you're basically winning, because if you paid $350 and it's worth $380, you got $30,000 in equity already. That means when you sell the home, you're pocketing those $30,000 ultimately.
All right, clear to close, my three favorite words. Make my week.
Everybody's three favorite words.
For real, this is what you want to hear before you are about to close on your home. So clear to close. This means that all the necessary steps, the verifications, the approvals required for your mortgage loan are all complete after being reviewed by the underwriter. So you're probably wondering who the heck this underwriter is that's going to say yes or no. So the underwriter is the one who approves or denies the application. They're going to review all of the documents that you provided. They're going to look at your debt to income ratio, and they're also going to check your credit and then obviously compare the property's appraisal that we just talked about. And then after that, when do we close? Usually within a few days to a couple of weeks. That way you kind of have a time to review your documents, make any arrangements, that kind of thing. And at this point, you are going to have your closing disclosure, which, like your loan estimate, it is going to show you pretty much your final loan terms and amounts. No, that's pretty much it. Does anyone have any questions about the clear to close process?
Well, now we get your keys after you're clear to close. Huh? Oh, sorry. So once you're clear to close, you do your final walkthrough. You do a final walkthrough about 1 to 2 weeks before closing, just to make sure that everything's good. Whatever we negotiated in the inspection period has been repaired, replaced, whatever the case may be. You review the property's condition, you assure, I just said, necessary repairs. And then after that final walk, I always like to come back at least 3 to 5 days prior to closing, just to make sure that nothing's changed in the home. Sometimes I even come back the day before or 2 days before, whatever the current owners will allow, because you never know in homes, especially if they're vacant, if somebody will break in and steal something, somebody will break in and break something, and you don't want to walk into a house after you've purchased it and the oven is missing because we didn't do a walk the day before or something like that. So that's always really important. You don't have to be a part of that if you don't want to, but I like to personally go ahead and go in there, make sure everything is set up for you. And now we have closing day. So the title company that you sent your money to in the beginning of this process will coordinate a date for you to go into the office to actually sign your documents, sign your life away, and then give you your keys. And then you're ready to go ahead and move and you're done. This is all pretty much done within like a 30-day period post signing your offer. And we're done.
Yay. That's the home buying process in a short, sweet manner.
Short and sweet. So you guys aren't forced to go into it. You just have a general idea. So
it is definitely a process, but with the right people by your side, you'll get through it. We all get through it together. Climb the mountain.
Do you guys have any questions on anything? Something we didn't explain well, whatever it is?
Questions, comments, concerns.
What is escrow? What does escrow go toward after the home is purchased? Is that going towards your mortgage, insurance, or something else? Great question. So your escrow is actually part of your down payment. So like I said before, if you have to put $10,000 down towards the house for your loan, let's say your loan requires 3.5% down if you did the FHA loan, that money goes towards that. If you pay more than what you have to put down, which usually I don't think you don't really have to do that, then it'll go towards your closing costs, whatever the case may be. It'll always go towards the house. You're never going to lose that money.
Exactly. Yeah. It kind of just pours into the next thing.
I think that one's for you, Dre.
And do you have any clients that get turned down due to their credit score? Well, 580 is usually the minimum credit score to get you in a loan. Now, there are other options, but I do know some people as well that help will help you improve your credit if you're not quite there. But I like to see people at at least a 580 to get there. But if you're not there, we'll be able to help you get there.
Yeah. So 580 is the minimum you're saying to apply
pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll make sure you're there before we start running credit or anything.
Yeah.
And start looking at all your documents.
Anybody else? I know Lady had some questions. Yes.
I'm sorry, I had to do a big showing, so I had to leave.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Does that mean a high interest rate, Driana?
So the higher your credit score, the better your interest rate. That's usually how it goes. I mean, I'd say probably 740, 780 above, you're going to get the best credit score. A 640, you're going to be pretty good with the score as well. But 580 is usually going to get you the lower rate. But there's also options like FHA loans who usually do offer lower interest rates. It kind of just depends on the person and their situation.
Next question is, I'm self-employed. What were the extra documents that you need to have ready? I didn't get to jot them down.
Oh yeah, I will actually go back to that slide because they're all here.
We're going to send you guys a little cheat sheet after.
Yeah.
Just send us a DM that you want us to send you over like a PDF or something like that, and we'll get it over to you. I think you can you don't have to message in the group. You can send a private DM with your email or your number or something.
And then if someone's on disability, can they use that income? Yes, they can. They can use that income, and usually it does get grossed up depending on where the income's coming from. So it is very doable.
Of course.
And then here are the self-employed. So pretty much just a few extra things. Just remember the number 2, last 2 year business tax returns, 2 months of business statements, and the K-1 tax form.
So if she's self-employed, it would be the 1099, right?
Yes, and 1099. Can you? I'll have the chat over it. 1099 up here.
How long do I have to be employed in order to get a mortgage?
So a lot of people think you have to be at the same job for 2 years. mortgage companies just like to see, or underwriters, they like to see 2 years of consistent work history. Now, say you start working one place, you move on to another place, but you're still doing the same thing. As long as you're still doing that same thing, they're going to understand. So as long as you have the 2 years worth of income, you're fine. But now, say like a college student, or that, doesn't have much income, or a mother that was out on maternity leave, they look at these things as well, and they take it into consideration. But yeah, 2 years of solid income, but you don't have to be at the same job as long as you're doing something similar or you're moving up.
Correct. Anything else, you guys?
We'll go to the very end. So now it's time for the gift card giveaway.
The fun part.
I know. I'll get the little wheel together. Hang on. We have a cute little wheel to put everyone's names on.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining as well. I know it takes time out of your day after work. Everybody's tired, but we appreciate the group. I feel like I have to do something to keep everyone entertained while you're doing the wheel. What's everybody's Starbucks order?
Grande brown sugar shaken espresso with almond.
I know yours. We all know yours.
I know you are. We all know you are.
White chocolate. What is it? White chocolate mocha iced latte. Hey, I get an iced white mocha as well. Iced decaf espresso with cold. Look at you. Iced decaf espresso with cold foam. Interesting order. And we were on the color wheel. Yay, I was getting nervous.
Well, can everybody see it? Everybody's names are on here. We're good.
Dave wants to know, what's the down payment cost for a first-time home buyer?
First-time home buyer, conventional loan is 3% down, but I do have some lenders, sometimes they offer programs that even give you 1% down. So,
oh wow.
But 3% for an FHA loan, 3.5%.
3.5
Our veterans
average,
get no down payment.
Yeah, if you're a vet, I love working with vets because they get
Yes.
zero everything, and then when you negotiate closing costs as well, you're walking away with nothing, with putting down nothing.
Yeah, those are good loans. So, and USDA is another one. So if your home is in a USDA rural area,
yeah,
which there are areas around here in Southwest Florida. Me and Diley were looking at the map not long ago. So
yeah, there's quite a good amount. LaBelle is a big one now. If you wanted to get into USDA, put zero down to work with the USDA loan. LaBelle's a good spot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely up there. All right, everybody's names on here. Let's spin. I think it just stops by itself. Who's going to Starbucks?
He says, do we need to show assets?
Crystal! Congratulations!
And we met you at Starbucks, so that's even better. That's
question. What was the question?
To send that, I think we need her email. So the question was, do we need to show assets? I'm assuming for the...
Yes. So say right now you have all of your savings under your mattress. You're going to need to let that money season in the bank. We're going to need 2 months bank statements showing that that has been sitting in the bank and seasoned in there for 2 months. So you will have to show the assets, but for at least 2 months.
Anything else, you guys, before we send over Crystal's gift card?
Yes. If anybody wants just a recap of this, drop your email in here and we'll email you over a PDF just kind of going over everything.
Yeah, if you don't want it to be public, I think you can click a direct message to one of us.
Yes.
Just
you
get
should
it
be able
down.
to.
Or you'll just send it in the chat and everybody will see your email.
Well, that is our first time home buyer webinar with D&D.
Thank you guys so much for joining. Honestly, I was super nervous. I know Dree was super nervous. We've been talking to ourselves a lot, trying to figure out how to figure this out since it's our first time doing it. But I think it turned out amazeballs. I'm so excited that everybody that we knew was going to show up, shoot up, and even more. Thank you guys for being so knowledgeable. Thank you for showing up and not making us that nervous.
For real. Thank you, Bree.
Hopefully we
Alright.
get to do these at least once a month, right? When we get a little bit.
Yes, we want to try to do these like once a month.
Yeah, for
Just
anybody that you
little-
guys know that are looking and just
Mhm.
kind of get a little bit more information. And it's
Or
free.
if there's or if there's something else you want to talk about, one specific topic we can cover.
Yeah, we'll do a lot of these. It'll be good. Whatever questions you guys
Sure.
have, let us know. Text us, email us, DM us, and maybe we can do a whole Zoom out of that as well besides this.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think we're good.
Yeah. I guess we'll stay on here, Diley. Because we're gonna do this again, but in Spanish.
Yeah. So you guys can go ahead. When you're ready to go, you can go. You can stick around to hear us fumble in Spanish. But yeah, thank you for joining.
Yeah, if you want to learn it in Spanish, or just stay around. That's so funny.
Yeah, it'll be. I got Crystal's email. Where they go? I'll send it over.
Bye, Bree.
Bye, guys. Thank you for joining. I'm nervous to speak Spanish, dude.
I hablo Spanglish. My mom's like, you're born here.
I'm really gonna have to read from the PowerPoint in Spanish.
I'm reading from the PowerPoint. I have no shame. And I'm gonna speak my Spanglish like a praiser. I'm just gonna say a praiser.
Yeah.
I forget what the word is. Starts with tasación. What is it, Hickory? It's Hickory, everybody. What's left?
His name's Hickory.
It's Hickory.
Okay, gift card was sent.
Okay, cool. We just met her at Starbucks too. That was so funny.
That was the best part too. Like, what a coincidence!
Yes.
But the person we meet at Starbucks is the one that wins the Starbucks.
Heck
gift
yeah,
card.
she should. I liked that Starbucks. It was big and
Yeah.
nice. It was bigger than the one by my house. Ours like feels tiny and it fills up so quick.
How cool. We gotta keep doing that.
Yeah. My bar goes away.
Oh, if I'm still recording. Am I?
Are you? I forgot. You did start that. It might still be. Might as well.
How do I stop recording? Oh.